Well, good morning. Dobro utro. It's great. The first thing really worked. You were earlier than expected. Well, my name, you see that, is Wiek, and currently I'm chairman of the Standing Committee of PARE, and I welcome you to our 19th EULAR Annual European Conference. I'm happy to say, well, I welcome you, but there are lots, I hope, joining us online from Bulgaria and around the world. We have a very full program, and all you know how it starts. It starts with some housekeeping rules. You already saw that there is a simultaneous translation available for all sessions and workshops taking place in this room. So please use channel 1 if you need translation from English to Bulgarian, and channel 2 for Bulgarian to English. We are live streaming all plenary sessions and selected workshops, both in English and Bulgarian. So if you indicated that you do not want to appear in the live streaming, well, please sit in the area at the back of the room, which is out of line of the camera. The workshop we will be live streaming today is workshop 3. That's the workshop on patient education and increasing awareness of comorbidity. Tomorrow we will be live streaming 2 workshops. Workshop 6A, that's the first young PARE workshop on facilitating transition in young people, and workshop 7B, the second workshop on improving communications between patients and their healthcare team. So if you're in one of the workshops being live streamed, which will be taking place here in Musala, please let the workshop leader know that you do not want your image shown. I don't know, is there anybody who doesn't want to be seen? No, well, great, fantastic. Why am I telling that? Okay, fire exits. I hope this will not happen, but right, left, those are the fire exits. Toilets, in case you haven't found them yet, just leave, past the elevator, turn right, and then you'll see the toilets on the left. Put your mobile phones, please, on silent, or turn them off if you do not use your mobile to Twitter. You see this clock, and so be in time so that we really can start promptly. Last year we introduced that. Twitter. There's no Twitter wall here in this room. So if you would like to join us on Twitter, please do so. See how many people you can get to follow you. There are 2 people really in charge of that. One is a very experienced EULAR person from PARE as well, Florian Klett on my left, and then there's Macarena over there, our communication manager. Florian, a few words about Twitter? You've got a mic.
Thank you, Dieter, and welcome everybody. Also, welcome the Twitter community. I can really say that the excitement grows, and we've already had 500 posts on our social media wall that is you can see outside. And I will be updating you on any latest statistics, and if there's really something urgent that would be feeding into the discussion, I will also try to raise them.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Florian. You've all got that fantastic workbook. So the first thing, well, put down your name, write down your name. It's very helpful in case it gets lost. But it is also a great help. I don't know whether you just went through that workbook. It is a great help because there's a lot of information. You can put down your notes. And these are things you will need later on, I think, if you reflect on what happened over here. And also later, you know, we're going to have a survey right after this conference and 6 months later, because we would like that you, well, show what you did with all these things you learned over here and how you perhaps implement that in your organization. Another thing that should have been in the workbook or was given to you, you've got these voting cards, and well, I lost my cards last year, so please do not do so because you will need these cards, and there will be some voting. You'll see that, and you need these 3 cards. Well, our theme is patient-centered care. We've always got a theme for 2 years. This is our theme for 2015 and 2016. What is patient-centered care? Well, it means the patient is informed, respected, involved in his or her care, and the person's wishes are honored during the healthcare journey that normally takes quite long. It is our wish that patient-centered care replaces the very often still existing physician-centered system. A large part of patient-centered care is shared decision-making. That is, the conversation that takes place between the patient, the doctor, and the members of that healthcare team, or the professional team. The aim of this discussion is to reach a healthcare choice together, where everyone understands what is important to the other person when choosing a treatment. Shared decision-making is a process in which both patient and health professional make a decision that takes into account the best evidence of available treatment options and the patient's values and preferences. Patient-centered care and shared decision-making are important factors for a person's satisfaction in spite of this lifelong illness, and what I really believe is that this will enable better outcomes. Professor Gerd Burmester, president of EULAR, will be talking about shared decision-making later on in his keynote presentation. A number of workshops as well will be covering aspects of patient education, good communication, and the benefits of shared decision-making. I already mentioned the workbook you've got, and there are lots of details in there. There's also the program, so I do not want to enlarge on that. This is what you know how conferences work. You invite lots of people, and you also feel that you invite those people who are important and where you can really transport your message. This also happened, the Bulgarian Association invited the Bulgarian Minister of Health, Dr. Peter Moskov, but he can't come. But he sent a letter, a short letter, and we thought it would be adequate that this letter is read out, and this will be done by Boryana, Boteva. Boryana.
Welcome to everybody. I just want to read the letter from our Ministry of Health. It is in Bulgarian, that's why I'm going to read it in Bulgarian. Уважаеми дами и господа,
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to congratulate the organizers of the 19th Annual Conference of PARE and on the topic patient-centered care. Let me send my sincerest wishes for successful work. I believe that the deliberations during the conference will contribute to finding the best and forward-looking solutions for improving the treatment, prevention, and rehabilitation, and to reducing the burden both on the individual and the society. I am convinced that the discussions will deliver answers to a number of important questions related to the logistical and conceptual aspects of rheumatism as a disease and a social phenomena. I wish success to and fruitful work to everyone. Dr. Peter Moskov, Minister of Health.
Boryana, thank you very much. I'd like to welcome Professor Gerd-Burmester. Professor Gerd-Burmester is the president of EULAR. He is professor of medicine in the department, I hope now it's right, everything, because it's a very long title, in the Department of Rheumatology and Immunology at the Charité University Hospital, Free University, and Humboldt University of Berlin. He is a very, very busy person, traveling around the world. And what I found strange sometimes, I tried to contact him, and then, well, he sent an email almost at once, and then it said, well, greetings from South Korea, greetings from I don't know where. So it is a fantastic job he's doing, and it's great that he really took time to come to this conference. Thank you very much for that. And please welcome Professor Gerd-Burmester.
So good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure for me to welcome you all to this beautiful area of Europe. I've never been here, but I was quite impressed that there's still snow on the mountains and it's a beautiful location. We are right in here. And as Dieter said, I'm a pretty busy person, but not because I like to travel, which sometimes I do, but EULAR, of course, is a very important league against rheumatism, so we are invited to our South American and Central American friends. So I just came back from Panama, not attending to any letterbox companies, I must say, but to the panel meeting, which was quite nice, informing our colleagues from Central and South America about rheumatology, and I'm nearly on my way to go to Japan to meet our Japanese colleagues, and I think these interactions, of course, are very important, not only, of course, for the physicians, but for the patients as well. And I think this conference is a very, very nice document how currently and also in the future patients will be involved in their own care and how to set the recommendations and how to bring rheumatology forward. And with these words, I would like to especially thank Dieter for being a major part of the organization, of course the two vice presidents of EULAR, Marius and Christina, and also the staff from EULAR. We have Birte, Florian, and Macarena among us, and of course our hosts from Bulgaria. And I'd like to thank you very much also for hosting us in this beautiful location. So all in all, we have 120 participants from 38 countries, which is quite impressive, and there may be even more in the live stream, and I would also like to welcome the live stream guests. And of course, it is also very important that EULAR documents the support for BOPARD, which is the Bulgarian patient organization for rheumatic diseases. And this is also always extremely important because without the patients, also the physicians are nothing. So we are a team, and we need to support each other to also get the best possible care, but also to get recognition among the other disciplines of medicine. That is very important because sometimes we as rheumatologists and people taking care of musculoskeletal and rheumatic diseases, we struggle against other disciplines who think they are more important than we are, which I doubt. I always ask my patients, which is the most important organ? What do you think? Well, it's actually the musculoskeletal system. Because it's not the brain, it's not the heart, like the neurologist would think, or the cardiologist. No, it's the musculoskeletal system, because if we can't move, we will not be able to get any food, and if we cannot flee away from our enemies, we would be dead. So therefore, it's very easy that this is the most important system, and this is also documented, of course, by the importance and the burden of rheumatic diseases, which we will also address. And that brings me to the point you may ask, well, how did I personally go into rheumatology? And it's quite interesting. It's an interesting journey that I took, because I studied medicine because I wanted to become a psychiatrist. So I was really interested in psychiatry, psychosomatic diseases, the interface between the organ system and the brain. That was my interest. But in order to work on this in German medical school, you usually do a medical thesis. And the medical thesis themes were not too appealing, both in psychiatry and also psychosomatic medicine. So I was a little bit depressed that I would not be able to work in this area. And then I went to a lecture, and there was a patient being presented by the lecturer, and this patient had ankylosing spondylitis and was no longer able to play football. And that was, the patient complained a lot about not being able to play football anymore. That was his greatest hobby. And I'm myself, I'm an addicted football fan. So I'm a little bit depressed today that Borussia Dortmund lost in the very last minute against a highly esteemed team like Liverpool. So I said, well, this patient can no longer play football. We need to do something against it. I must go into that discipline to help people with rheumatic and musculoskeletal diseases. So I made this decision, and I was lucky to find a very good mentor, actually Jochen Kalden, who also was a president of EULAR. And he introduced me into immunology, into the background of rheumatic diseases, and that's how I got into rheumatology. And I must say, I haven't regretted it at all, especially now that we also know that there is quite an interface between psychiatry, thinking, how to cope with diseases, and the musculoskeletal system. I think this is a very, very exciting area. And I'm also very glad that nowadays we can help these patients with ankylosing spondylitis. Actually, I take care personally of some patients who are very active in sports, who even play in the Premier League of the German football, who are ice hockey players with this disease. Something we would have never dreamt of many years ago. But now it's possible. You can lead a normal life if everything goes well with treatment and so on. So that brings us to the extreme and exciting progress that we have made, not only in diagnosis, but also in the treatment. Nevertheless, there are many, many unmet needs, so we need to work hard and address these unmet needs. And also we are now challenged, luckily I must say, with a lot of treatment options that we can offer to many of our patients. And, and of course then the patient is in the center of our care, which for me is also quite easy to envision, because many of you know that I'm married to a nurse. So I have daily contact to a health professional. And so we can discuss how to deal with patients, how to integrate patient care. And so this is a very, very important part nowadays. So patient-centered care, of course, also needs shared decision-making. which is a very nice English word. It's great, the English language is so great. In German, this is, you won't believe it, partizipative Entscheidungsfindung. Very difficult to pronounce, even for me. So, shared decision making, this is very nice, and sounds very good, but it is not so easy. Let's say nowadays we are faced with maybe 9 treatment options for a patient. How do you make the decision? Even for a physician, it's not so easy. And for the patient, of course, it's not easy either. So they need to be informed. So I think the decisive tool would be appropriate decision aids that tell the patients and also the physicians, these are the options and these you can use in order to make the most appropriate decision. And that's what we need to work on. And in order to address many of these educational needs, we will launch in London at our annual meeting the EULAR School of Rheumatology. Some of you may have heard about it, and we will officially launch this. And of course, the patients and the health professionals, along with the physicians, will form an integral part of this school. So the patients will have their own classroom. And that is something we will discuss. The classroom is not completely empty, but we need more educational material, of course, for the classrooms, especially decision aids informing us about the diseases, the treatment options, the management, and other factors, because then the best possible care is delivered. So with these words, I'm quite excited about this conference, and I'm very glad that you gave me the opportunity to join you all here. And of course, I would like to thank you very much, because EULAR highly appreciates your daily input into EULAR. Because EULAR is a unique organization. I just came from PANLAR, and this is the Pan American Association, and I will join the Japanese colleagues and also the Asian colleagues in the PANLAR meeting in Shanghai. But I think EULAR is the prime example where the patients, along with the health professionals and the physicians, are an important pillar. I think this is a huge and tremendous opportunity, and we're envied actually by the other leagues in the world that we have this opportunity. However, it would not work without your input. And I realize, and we have been discussing this quite frequently, that in order to get here, many of you have to take vacation, you have to be off from work, from family, you have to work hard, you have to fill in your workbooks, as I noticed, and work in the workshops and so on. So this is really a lot of voluntary work that you are devoting to EULAR. And EULAR really highly appreciates this and is extremely grateful not only to you sitting here, but to everyone being involved in the EULAR affairs. And with these thanks, I like to again wish you all us all a very successful conference. I'm pretty excited. I must say, at least the preparation, and I'm sure the workshop itself, is extremely well organized. I would be happy if all the scientific events would be organized so well like this one here. And so again, thank you all. And again, I wish you a very successful conference. Thank you very much for coming here.
Yes, thank you very much, Professor Gerd-Burmester. I would like to see that more young German doctors have got this fundamental experience with the footballer, because and this is what Gerd-Burmester knows much better than I do, we really lack rheumatologists in our country. Perhaps you as well in your country or your countries. And this is really a key issue for us, having more rheumatologists. I'd like to introduce Boryana Boteva. You already saw her. Boryana is the vice president of the Bulgarian organization for patients with rheumatic diseases, a key member of this task force, a PARE board member as well. And Boryana, I'd like to listen to you.
Thank you, Dieter, for this kind introduction. I want to thank first to Professor Burmester for being here. I know that he's quite busy, so thank you very much for being here. So, dear all, dear delegates, dear Dieter, dear Professor Vladeva, dear Associate Professor Ivkov, dear Professor Burmester, as the Vice President of Bulgarian Organization for People with Rheumatic Diseases, I can say that it's a great honor for us to host the 19th Annual Conference of PARE here in Sofia. The Bulgarian Organization for People with Rheumatic Diseases is a young organization, and being part of PARE is very important for us because we are able to learn from the best, from very experienced countries, to gain knowledge and to be inspired to develop our organization further. In fact, I can say that I haven't ever dreamed that we will host that conference, and I want to thank EULAR and PARE for choosing Bulgaria as a host. Looking back 5 years ago, when we established our organization, I can say that there was a lack of information about rheumatic diseases, about treatment, rehabilitation, and whatever you can imagine. Today, the situation is a little bit different. I can say better, and I can say that it is because of our efforts, of course, of the efforts of our partners from other patient organizations in the field of rheumatic diseases. So I believe that such conferences are very important and have significant role in educating national patient organizations, empower people, not only the board members, but of course the members of the organization. We are doing our best to promote rheumatic diseases among general public, among society, among our members, family, and so on. And such conference is quite important, supporting our efforts. I do believe that only when patients, patient organization, rheumatologists, and health professionals work together, also the institutions, I forgot them, what a pity, it is possible to establish the patient-centered care model. And why not to say person-centered care model? So I would like to thank all of you for being here. I want to thank the EULAR Secretariat who were so kind in helping us when we prepared this conference. I can assure you that it was really hard, but with their support it was more easier. I want to thank all members of our organization, all people who supported us during the years, and I wish you a successful conference and pleasant stay in Sofia. And you can see the members of our organization, most of them are wearing green t-shirts. So if you have some questions for whatever you want, you can address them. So thank you very much for being here and have a successful conference.
Yes, thank you very much, Boryana. Our next speaker is Professor Stoyanka Vladeva. She is a professor for rheumatology at the Department of Internal Medicine, and she will give a welcome on behalf of the Bulgarian Society of Rheumatology. So please welcome Professor Vladeva.
Dear EULAR and PARE leadership, dear delegates, representing the Bulgarian Society for Rheumatology, I'd like to thank EULAR for choosing Sofia to host this year's conference to PARE. This is the biggest forum ever organized by EULAR in Bulgaria. Our country is small in terms of size and economics, but the problems with care of the patients with rheumatic diseases are important. Bulgarian rheumatologists are seeking the best diagnosing and treatment of their patients with professionalism and support, although encountering many difficulties considering the complex socio-political situation and many other factors in the country. The expectations for our patients are great, and they deserve to receive comprehensive care with efforts to incorporate all necessary resources. The active cooperation with the patients' organization will increase their influence in the health system and give the chance for changes their favor. Back to 2006, 5 principles were defined by the International Alliance of Patient Organization in order for the patient to be in the center of the health care. Respect, choice and decision, access and support, information and inclusion of the patients in the health politics. These principles are still valid now, and sticking to them will optimize the practice and behavior of politicians, health professionals, and industry related to the health care. A Bulgarian nation has chosen for its national motto the phrase "Unity make strength, Concordia res parve crescunt," and believe in it. Let this conference make all of you stronger and more confident. We all together, patients, doctors, and society, and achieve prevention, early detection, treatment, and stopping the rheumatic disease. I'd like to wish you all of success in this historical for the Bulgarian Rheumatology Forum. Good luck.
Yes, thank you very much. Our next speaker is Associate Professor Ivkov, and I was very lucky because yesterday evening we had the chance to talk together. Professor Ivkov is Vice President of the Bulgarian organization, patient organization. He has for many years championed the cause of disabilities in Bulgaria. And he has written a lot about many issues affecting people with chronic diseases and disabilities. And yesterday evening when we talked, we saw, well, there are lots of differences between Germany and Bulgaria. Certainly the health system is different, for example. But there are some things, it doesn't matter how advanced the country is, this is still unbelievable. That is, what are things really accessible, wheelchair accessible? And we found several parallels where patient organizations and representatives are really fighting to improve the situation And I don't know whether you found out that in your country as well. It takes sometimes years till things really change. But nevertheless, we do not give up. So please welcome Professor Ivkov.
Уважаемый профессор Бурместер, уважаемый господин Wiek, уважаемый
Professor Burmester, Mr. Dick, dear delegates, dear friends, allow me to briefly introduce to you the activities of our organization as well as opportunities to implement the patient-centered care model. In the late autumn of 2010, a group of enthusiasts got together and set up the organizations of patients with rheumatological diseases in Bulgaria. We have a chairperson, 2 deputies, and 2 secretaries. I would like to underscore this because there are few organizations like this in the world of patient organizations. All of our members and the members of our leadership are all volunteers. Nobody's on the payroll of the organization. The personal goals of these young people have become the goals of the organization itself, led by the motto that knowledge is power. They are working on enabling their members and target groups by providing them information on how to better manage one's disease and, if possible, improve the conditions for diagnosis and treatment. They work on expanding the opportunities for inclusion of people with RMDs and to provide them with different social services, such as providing advice, education, and sometimes even charitable donations. One of the leading goals of our organizations is international. Through our affiliations with EULAR, our patient organization is able to provide timely, up-to-date, and understandable for the patient information. And thanks to this arrangement, we became the first Bulgarian organizations to put forward the model of patient-centered care and launch it to the public. We chose this because there are 2 pillars which, in our opinion, are not visible in Bulgaria. You can see it on the slides. On the one hand, it is the link and partnership between the patient, families, and healthcare providers. And on the other hand, the values of the patient. This is indeed a model of a holistic approach to diagnosis and treatment of people with RMDs. And since, at least in the health policies that we see in this country, this holistic approach is not present. We, as an organization, have focused in the past 2 years or so on public awareness. We launch different campaigns. One of them in 2015 was entitled "We Are Not Made of Wood." We launched it in the 14th of October with a press conference to shed light on the problems of people with RMDs in accessing relevant medicine products. Anelia and Boryana were very precise when they disclosed the social implications of the fact that a certain patient has an RMD, and this chair, the chair of pain, became the symbol of the pain with which people with the RMD go through life. So when we present a model, regardless of what exactly the model might be, it is a model that we want to implement within social environment. So what is the context in Bulgaria, and does that provide conditions for the implementation of this model? Unfortunately, my answer to this question in the context of Bulgaria would be no. No, this model cannot be implemented in this country at this time. There are many arguments that I could use to justify my opinion, but I will only give you a few. In the constitution of this country, healthcare is defined as free of charge, accessible, and of the highest possible quality. All of this is then translated into law. Unfortunately, at this time, however, healthcare is extremely expensive, very difficult to get access to, and almost no guarantees as to quality are provided. Patients and very often doctors as well are faced with the problem that all practices and policies are focused on cutting costs for a given medical service, which means that care is pushed far out into the background. And many times people will just give up the use of health services because they decide that buying food to put on the table is more important. In other words, medical treatment, medical care is becoming smaller and smaller. Another point, the cost of health that's out of pocket for the patient is going up all the time. And this can be seen in many surveys. Now, in terms of the partnership or relationship between doctors and patients, the prevailing approach is paternalistic, where the doctor is the omniscient God and the patient knows nothing and can do nothing, a small child. And then we can see a conflict of interpretation in what doctors understand when they use the term disease and when patients feel in terms of disease. There are also other complications due to the market, the fact that healthcare and medicine have become markets. The patient was, is, and will be a patient, while Bulgarian doctors have become actually business people, and hospitals have become commercial entities. And the way in which healthcare is provided reminds one of the history books on the birth of capitalism back in the 18th century. And this model cannot be fully blamed on others without the patients sharing in this, because it's much easier to just give up all responsibility and expect that someone else will take care of you and will make the decisions for you. But hopefully, through our efforts, this is going to change. You know that this world movement of patients is led by the motto, nothing about us without us. Unfortunately, in this country, all policies, social or economic, is somewhat inverted. And it says all about us without us, or all about them without them. They know what we need better than ourselves, so they will take care of the decisions and the provision. This makes it very important to realize that when the patient doesn't have the sense of ownership but is excluded from the decision-making concerning his or her own health, we can only expect serious problems in the trust relationship between doctors and patients. And if there is no trust and confidence, you have already undermined the treatment itself. These slides show some of the events that we have carried out in this conflict with the institutions, that unfortunately is not a dialogue, because there is no response on their part. They never listen. I'm trying to find two quotations which I wanted to show to you, but somehow I can't hit on them. But they are very indicative of what should but is not happening in Bulgaria. The first one is a quote from a scientific review. A doctor addresses politicians in the US saying, our politicians should not implement market principles in the area of healthcare. Healthcare should be spared from the volatility of market arrangements. This is completely the opposite of what we see in Bulgaria. The second quotation is from Peter Klimek, the wonderful writer, who says in one of his novels, I have nothing against healthcare with reasonable costs. However, I'm firmly against cost determining the development of healthcare. So this is what we have in this country, this undesirable situation. Unfortunately, in policy making in healthcare in this country, the needs of patients are almost completely disregarded. May I put in parentheses a clarification that the reform in healthcare in this country was started by doctors. It is designed with doctors in mind, and then the lawyers and the legal professionals joined in, and as a result, it's a complete chaos and no mention of the patient. There are thousands of pages and hundreds of changes and amendments. Now, these are some of our efforts to get the Bulgarian institutions to give us some attention and to listen to us. We are carrying this chair of pain and offering people in the various institutions, the Council of Ministers and so on, offering them to try it out. This initiative, this campaign, was concluded at the end of October, where we gave that chair of pain as a gift to the National health insurance fund. This is our only insurance fund. It's like Voltaire and God. We do meet, we say hello, but we don't really talk. So it is a difficult dialogue indeed. And unfortunately, without dialogue, I don't really see how we could implement the patient-centered care model. This is not the only campaign that we have carried out. There's been quite a few of them. And I must say that most of our events are quite aggressive, and we are proud of that because the government institutions cannot afford not to notice us. Every opinion that we have presented on the various issues is based on a very thorough analysis of most recent developments, because we keep an eye on the developments in legislation and newest practices, as well as the newest achievements in the area of rheumatology. So these are not just stories of people who need a shoulder to cry on. Unfortunately, so far, despite of all of our efforts, we cannot boast with a lot of success. Still, we're optimists, especially through the optimism of Boryana and Sneža, who are really hard workers and very positive. I'm very proud that I know these two young women, and they are really delightful co-workers. So we often say that the spirit of law is recognized and respected when it becomes the law of the spirit. The motto that we are discussing is like law. It must be realized and accepted so that it can naturally be implemented. And this, as we know, depends on the efforts and good will of doctors, patients, and institutions. The famous Russian scholar Vladimir Bekhterev, and he was also a physician, once said that if after consultation with a doctor the patient doesn't feel better, it's not good for the doctor. The humanistic approach in this brief quote must permeate our laws, our policies, all of our actions, so that we can indeed implement an adequate model where the patient is indeed in the center, a holistic approach where the patient will be seen first and foremost as a human being and not as a diagnosis or a pathology. We would like to believe, and we do believe, that this model will sooner or later be implemented in this country as well, hopefully sooner than later. Thank you, and I will gladly take your questions later on.
Yes, Professor Ivkov, that was very impressive. Well, to get to know more about the healthcare system in Bulgaria, how you see the patient-doctor relationship, what your organization is doing to empower patients, and also, well, to see, well, what you're trying to do with your campaigns to improve the situation and to lobby, really. So first thing, we are rather early. I do not know whether this happened before, not what I experienced. We are so fast. So first thing, I'd like to give you the opportunity, are there questions? And you may ask Professor Ivkov. I do not know if it works technically. Anybody would like to know anything about the Bulgarian healthcare system or the organization and so on? Is there anybody? No, seemingly not. But I'm sure you've got questions, but perhaps they will come up later on. But we've got another fellow here, and I'm sure he has got something about either, let's say, the presentation we just heard, or perhaps the first tweets that appeared. Florian? So, sorry, Professor Ivkov, thank you very much. Perhaps people will come up later on and ask you things in the break that we will have soon. Oh, yes, yeah, Burmester.
Yes, I have a question. How is the interaction in Bulgaria between physicians and patient organization? Is there, because normally we are most successful if we fight jointly together.
Yes, Professor Burmester, you are absolutely right. Unfortunately, our communication with the organization of rheumatologists is very difficult, and the most recent meetings which I attended saw this maximum which I mentioned, everything about them without them. I didn't feel any attitude of partnership, at least myself. There are many doctors who are open-hearted, open-minded, and they work with patients. We have one of them among us, Professor Vladeva, but this is not enough. The dialogue must occur at the level of organization, and it is very difficult for us to find this common language.
I'd like the Bulgarian rheumatologists keep the Hippocratic oath and follow and implement any new methods and recommendation for rheumatology thanks to the EULAR. In times of severe crisis, we certainly give more than our patient and strive to treat both the patient and the person. But ultimately, we are not magicians when they're not finding for diagnosis and treatment. I'd want that second Global Congress of Patient Organization in 2006 in Barcelona for the first time defined the necessary for putting the patient with chronic disease in center of care, and the goal today is local, regional, national and international level to represent and support the interests of patients, their family, and all professionals who care them. In Bulgaria, there are such structures that have the powers, duty, and capacity to help and organize on behalf of the state the care of patients with rheumatic disease. These structures are called regional health inspections. They have the capacity of people, tools and resources to put the patient in the center of care and to unite all of youth involved in the process. I suggest, especially for Bulgaria, by the initiative of Bulgarian Organization of People with Rheumatic Disease, to set up in every major city a structure called, for example, Rheumatic Care Group, including representative of the organization, one rheumatology expert, and a representative from the National Health Inspection. It may sound difficult, but it's not. But it is only correct and effective approach. This is my opinion from Association of Against Osteoporosis.
Yes, thank you very much. I can see there are two more questions from the floor. Could you please say your name, where you're from? It helps us a little. So thank you very much. One over there, and then afterwards there's Jolanta in the back. Okay.
My name's Raj Mahapatra, and I'm from the National Ankylosing Spondylitis Society for the UK. I was wondering what sort of support the patient organisations have here in Bulgaria from pharmaceutical companies.
The support which we receive, at least for our organization, is based on one single thing. When we prepare a project or an initiative which goes on over time, we try to find funding in order to implement this activity or initiative. That's it.
Jolanta?
Jolanta Grygierska from Poland. I have two very short questions. I would like to thank you, Professor Ivko, for your interesting presentation and for new ideas for my organization. And the first question is, do you need a referral from family doctor to rheumatologist? Is the first one. And another one, who take care of you after diagnosis, family doctor or rheumatologist?
Thank you for these questions. Most often, the first physician to see a person with rheumatic disease, this is the family doctor. This is the normal case. Unfortunately, their reaction is not adequate in many cases. They decide that is their task is to decide that it's a rheumatic case and the referral should be to a rheumatologist. However, very often the referral is to a neurologist, to an orthopedician, and that takes time. The rheumatological disease starts doing its evil job while the person is stranded among departments and he doesn't know what his diagnosis is. Unfortunately, one of the major problems in Bulgaria is quick diagnosis and the implementation of proper therapy.
If I remember the Irish shirts properly from last year, in the middle. Just your name, please. And
thank you. I'm Sinead Frawley from Arthritis Ireland. I'm just wondering in relation to access to biologics in Bulgaria, does the government or the National Healthcare Service subsidise the cost of the biologics for patients, or do patients have to pay the full cost, as we know they're very expensive?
This is a very painful question. I think across Europe or in most countries, the situation in Bulgaria as of today is this one. 75% of the price of biologic is reimbursed by the National Health Insurance Fund. The remaining 25% are still covered by the importers, by the companies which import the biologics. Unfortunately, policy in this area is to consistently limit the access and limit the number of people treated with this modern treatment. Even we spoke with Boryana, these practices and policies, with these practices, we have 2 or 3 cases this week where people, where doctors refuse to put rheumatologic patients out of record. They refuse to enter them in dispensary record, which prevents them from getting treatment. And if they are to receive biologic, they should be registered as as people with disabilities. But this touches other activities. Ima. I'm Dr. Angelova. I am director of the National Rehabilitation Hospitals, and I'm president of the Association of Doctors for Rehabilitation Medicine. I think we are a good example of good cooperation with patient organizations of rheumatic patients. Rehabilitation is regulated in our country, but it is not long enough in order to be efficient. We know that the final stage of the treatment of each patient is rehabilitation. Bulgaria has a national complex for rehabilitation, a group of hospitals, but unfortunately, patients with Bechterew, they can receive only 7 days of rehabilitation. With some other complications, they may get further 7 days. But I believe that for 5 or 4 years, we have had good collaboration. And my recommendation to the rheumatologists and to patient associations is to join our efforts in order to introduce a clinical path of at least 14 days. The mother of Dr. Angelova was my doctor. She was an exceptional person. I used to talk to her for hours, not only to discuss treatment, but also on what would be the implications of some drugs. That was at the time when I didn't have children, when I was a student. She and her colleagues in the 1980s said specifically about Bechterew disease. The classical treatment is sanatorium treatment 2 times in the year, 20 days in the spring and in autumn. And as Professor Angelova said, we have just 7 days according to our rules.
Questions? One, and then Christina, and then, okay, and then the man at the back, and then Florian, with recounting the tweets. Okay, you.
From the national radio, do we have sufficient number of rheumatologists in Bulgaria? Are there any areas in the country which are not covered by a rheumatologist, and how people do it there? You see, we do not have enough rheumatologists. To my memory, there are between 80 and 100. In some areas, there is not a single doctor rheumatologist, so people have to travel around to the nearest one. Unfortunately, these are the facts. Which are these areas? The districts of Kърджали, Ямбол, Хасково, Силистра, Blagoevgrad, and perhaps some more. I do not have information about the others.
I'm Vice President of EULAR, representing health professionals. And I certainly appreciate the important role of rheumatologists, but I have, of course, a question about health professionals in Bulgaria. Do they have the independence and the power to support patient organizations such as yours and apply a more person-centered care than you report about rheumatologists?
Of course, no one can prevent such collaborations from happening, but it appears to me that the fundamental philosophy of this model, this holistic base, this comprehensiveness of the approach, this patient-centered philosophy is lacking. It's lacking in many places. There are very, very few doctors, such as Professor Vladeva Andreeva, who approach and see the patient first as a human being. And only then, as I say, I have hundreds of social roles, and one of the last roles is a person having Bechterev's disease. I do not use the term patient. I'm not a patient. I'm a human being. I'm a patient only in the doctor's office. Outside the doctor's office, I'm a human being. No problem for this collaboration. Yes, we have very severe criticism to rheumatologists, to the government, and to everyone, to ourselves. We are just starting. We are trying to do as little mistakes as possible. There is an organization of healthcare professionals. We can't contact them. We don't know, is it there or isn't. Sometimes we live in a dark forest and we don't know sometimes whether the forest ends after this tree or it doesn't.
Peter Gershak from Slovenia. I would like to know how many patients with rheumatic diseases has biological treatment in Bulgaria.
If memory does not mislead me, it's about 4,200. According to statistics from our rheumatologists, only people with rheumatoid arthritis, Bechterew, and some more similar diseases are more than 100,000. That is the percentage of persons receiving biological treatment is very negligible.
Professor Ivkov, sorry, I just said that to be in time. Florian, what about people outside of the room, or perhaps even inside of the room? What about the tweets? What are they about?
I think it's become clear that this subject is really close to everybody, and a lot of people have echoed the voices already shared here. I think it's important to note that a discussion has taken place, or is taking place, about what is good centered care, patient-centered care, and it's when asked what is important to you in the management of and treatment of your disease, and what are your personal goals, which means not only to include treatment options, but also to include the whole person, education, social and individual goals. And what Professor Dr. Ivkov said, it's needed to have a humanistic approach that should permeate the institutions and the processes, or in other words, it should not be patient-centered care, but person-centered care. That is the main, what I can say.
Thank you very much. For me, personally, it was a great start because there were so many questions from the floor. We had experts here. Professor Ivkov, thank you very much, really, for informing us. That was fantastic. And now you deserved a break. So in case you would like to have some action, some stretching, then you just leave the room, past the elevator, and there, perhaps you've seen it, there's a little lobby. So there will be some stretching if you like. If you do not, then well, have a coffee, and we'll carry on really at 11:30. So please be here at 11:30 so that we can start at 10:30. Sorry, 10:30. And thank you very much.
and addio,
So
and
you like
addio,
the chairs,
and
is
addio.
that what you're
1,
saying?
2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's okay? Yep, thank you. Very sorry for the delay. I ask for your patience for 5 minutes because there is a very important interview of the president of EULAR to the national channel, and because one of the aim of the conference is to support the national league. So please make a little bit patient, and we start in about 5 minutes.